Good afternoon to you. Our top story for the former Health Secretary Wes Streeton's told us that sites like Instagram and TikTok need to be treated like the tobacco industry. Doctors have also said that social media can be as addictive as smoking. Graham Stewart is a cybersecurity expert and the head of public sector at Checkpoint. He's also the father of a teenage girl, and he joins me live now on LBC News. Graham, good afternoon to you. Thanks for taking the time out to speak to us. Now, from my understanding, you don't allow your daughter to use social media at all. Why is that?
No, well, she's 9 and she's coming up and she's already kind of started asking about having a phone and things like that. Bluntly, if you could see what I saw on a daily basis, you wouldn't let your child use social media either. There's the amount of unpleasant stuff, the kind of grooming, the gangs and things like that, use of sextortion techniques and things like that, and just the general level of unpleasantness that's on social media that, frankly, a teenage child is not equipped to deal with.
I mean, really gone are the days of being afraid. Parents worried that their children might sneak into the park to drink a bottle of cider or something. Now they're going to be at home in many cases, and the danger right on their doorstep.
Yep, absolutely. And I view this as one of the biggest child protection failures in the modern era. There's many arguments around this. And frankly, this stuff is not suitable for under 18s, and we need to put a line in the sand and go, this is not okay. And I would urge people to think very carefully. Children are on these devices from dawn until dusk, and some of the content that they get presented with is simply just not suitable for them, and they're not emotionally able to deal with it. And there's all these horrendous cases about, children being harmed and potentially even taking their own lives as a result of using social media. And I'm afraid it's now time to do something about it.
So I hear you mention that age 18. Is this the age that you think your daughter should be allowed to access social media? Because the other side is that feeling that she might be feeling that she's being left out.
Absolutely. Fear of missing out, FOMO, as it used to be called. 16, I think, is probably a good place to start here. This comes back to, the idea that people say, these restrictions are difficult because teenagers will find their way around them. And you're quite right. I'm sure many of your listeners, and potentially even myself included, would have, nipped down the corner shop, buy a bottle of cider when they were underage, and then do that. That doesn't mean to say that you should move the line for when people can buy alcohol legally. And I'm afraid that we have to put a line in the sand here, as they've done in other countries, and say this is not appropriate for children.
Now, time and again, we hear what the government says that it's doing. It says that it's going to get tougher on these big tech, big social media companies. But clearly something isn't quite working, is it? There doesn't seem to be much of a deterrence in many cases for social media companies. And we are still in this case where we keep getting a lot of rhetoric from ministers.
Yeah, absolutely. And frankly, this is about action, not words now. There's been, lots of pressure. I'm not necessarily in agreement with everyone in my own industry on this topic, but I have to say, this is not a social media. This is not a tech issue. It is a cybersecurity issue, but this is a safeguarding issue. We have rules in place that don't allow children to drive. We have rules in place that don't allow children to buy and drink alcohol, etc., etc. Frankly, we need rules in place that allow them to not consume content that is not suitable for them. It's in the interest of these organisations, anybody that's spent any time on social media, that there's algorithms there, sending you things that it thinks you're interested in to keep you scrolling, keep clicking, because what they're looking to do is to keep you engaged so that they can sell advertising to people who were aiming at that marketplace. I just don't think it's okay, and I just don't think it's appropriate.
I tell you one thing, Graham, as an adult, it can actually be quite difficult to sometimes just tear yourself away from social media, because here you are scrolling, you think, my goodness, half an hour's gone already and I'm still here.
Yeah,
why?
Absolutely. Down the rabbit hole, absolutely. And my advice to you would be, particularly on a day like today, get outside, enjoy the sunshine, obviously with some water and appropriate cover. But the constant problem has been, in reference to the government, is there's this idea of legislative lag. It takes time for governments to catch up with technology as it comes along. But we've been talking about this for a long time. We've had social media for over 20 years. And there are governments around the world that have taken steps, and to, howls of anguish from teenagers all around the world. And actually, I'm afraid that's just how it is. And part of the downside of being a parent is occasionally you have to tell your children no. And this is for their benefit. And like I said, this is one of the biggest child protection failures in the modern era, that we hadn't seen this coming and we haven't dealt with it, and we now need to deal with it.
Let me just very much pick you up on that, actually, that last point you just made very quickly, saying that this is one of the biggest child protection failures in the modern era and that something needs to be done. What are the conversations that you're having with government, and what are the plans for improvement? Because certainly what is being done now isn't working. There needs to be a radical shift and change.
Well, what's interesting about this is that the government's already done something about this. So if you remember last year, they forced age verification technology onto adult content providers. And so websites like Pornhub and people like that were suddenly forced to put age verification technology in place. This can be done. And government should be, and I've spoken to anybody that will listen to me about this, that this should be treated in a similar vein. The age verification technology is available, and it should be on the providers to do that, in the same way that it's on the shopkeeper to verify that the person he's selling a bottle of cider to is over 18. These people should be put in a position where the age verification is on them, and they would have a legal requirement. And we've already done it. I see very little reason why we can't extend that to social media.
Really good speaking to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time here on LBC News. That is speaking to us there, Graham Stewart, who's head of public sector at Checkpoint, which is a cyber security expert company.